The hall went silent when the dog started barking at the wedding cake. Nala, a lean brown rescue with a white blaze on her chest, planted her paws at the base of the three-tier masterpiece and erupted in sharp, urgent barks that bounced off the crystal chandeliers. Forks froze mid-air. The live band's talking drum fell quiet. Even the fog machine behind the sweetheart table hissed itself out. The cake, glazed in white buttercream and gold leaf, sat on a glass pedestal like a crown jewel. Sugar roses climbed the sides. A tiny fondant bride and groom smiled from the top. "Whose dog is that?" someone whispered. The groom, Malik Johnson, still in his cream tux and coral pocket square, turned from greeting his aunties and stared. The bride, Amara Okoye, gelly-tied in soft gold, eyes lined with kohl, tightened her grip on his arm. "It's Nala," she breathed. "She found us 2 years ago. She doesn't bark like this." Nala's hackles lifted. She circled the pedestal, nose twitching, every bark a lightning strike. The baker's assistant tried to step forward, but Nala lunged just enough to make the man jump back. Glassware tinkled. A photographer slid sideways, lens trained on the dog. "Easy, girl," Malik said, voice low and calm as he moved closer. He had that voice people trusted, warm, steady, used to guiding clients and calming boardrooms. "It's okay." Nala barked harder. From the sweetheart table, Tasha Reed, the maid of honor, in a satin dress the color of ripe mango, watched with perfect posture. On any other day her beauty, sharp cheekbones and flawless curls would have pulled every eye. Today something else was wrapped around her like invisible lace, a cold stillness. When Malik glanced her way, she pressed her lips into a sympathetic line and stood, hand resting lightly on Amara's shoulder for just 1 second too long. "Maybe she just sees her reflection," Tasha said, voice bright. "Dogs get funny with mirrors." The baker, Mr. Bello, a big man in a black cap embroidered with his shop name, hurried over with a professional smile that didn't touch his eyes. "Apologies, I beg," he said softly, shifting between American and West African cadence like a man who had lived in both worlds. "We'll move the cake to a quieter corner." He signaled to his assistant. They bent to lift the pedestal. Nala exploded. Not at them, at the cake. She lunged, teeth bared, and slammed her shoulder into the glass stand. Gasps rippled through the hall. The pedestal rattled, steadied, rattled again. Malik grabbed the stand with both hands. Amara reached for his sleeve. "Hey!" Tasha snapped, sudden heat breaking through her sweet tone. "Get that dog away." A ribbon of silence pulled tight. Nala stopped barking as if someone cut a wire. She sniffed the bottom tier. Then she took 1 step back and gave a deep, throaty growl that made the hairs on people's arms rise. Amara finally found her voice. "Nala only behaves like this when something's wrong." "Amara, it's a cake," Tasha said, a soft laugh that didn't soften anything. "What could be wrong with a cake?" Mr. Bellow's smile trembled. He glanced at Tasha, quick as a blink, and then away. He wiped his palms on his apron. "Please, sir," he said to Malik, "we can cut a small slice from the top. Your dog will see it's fine." Malik looked at Nala. Then at his wife. Then at the cake. Their cake. Made with zobo syrup and vanilla bean, inspired by the first dessert Amara ever made for him, all those evenings in a tiny kitchen when they were saving money and dreaming big. He nodded once, slow. "Top tier," he said. The assistant climbed a small step stool. The hall held its breath. The knife slipped into the top layer without a sound. A fragrant, sweet smell drifted out. Nala stopped growling. But she didn't relax. She only looked up at the man on the stool like she was counting his heartbeats. The assistant lowered the slice to a waiting plate. "See," Tasha said, laughter again too light. "Perfect." Andy's clapped. The band leader, unsure, lifted his talking drum and set a cautious rhythm. Malik exhaled. Amara's shoulders dropped, only an inch. The assistant offered the slice. "Ladies first," Malik said, and then he saw Amara's hesitation. "Feed it to me," she teased, playing for the room, eyes softening. The crowd relaxed a little more. Weddings love the little rituals. Nala exploded again. She leaped, paws drumming the floor, and snapped at the plate, not to bite the cake, but to knock it from the assistant's hand. The slice tumbled. The white icing hit the glass with a soft thud and slid. A clean, bitter smell, sharp as metal, cut through the sugar. It was so faint most people couldn't place it. But Malik's cousin, a nurse, frowned. Mr. Bellow's assistant froze. Mr. Bellow took a tiny step back as if the floor had tilted. "What was that smell?" the nurse whispered, nose craning. Amara's eyes widened. She had learned the language of scents in the bakery where she once worked after school. Cinnamon meant warmth. Lemon meant bright. Almond meant comfort. This smell didn't belong. It was wrong like a smile at a funeral. Nala, she whispered, what are you telling us? Mr. Bello cleared his throat. Sometimes the alcohol in the vanilla. There's no alcohol in our recipe, Amara said without looking at him. Eyes turned. Tasha stepped forward, mouth open, then closed again. I think we're turning a small thing into a big scene, she said, sweet once more. Let's cut from the second tier, okay? This is all nerves. Malik looked to the nurse cousin. She gave the smallest shake of her head, unsure but alert. He looked to Mr. Bello, whose forehead had begun to shine. He looked to Tasha, whose smile had become a mask. Then he looked to his wife, whose hand now rested on Nala's head. Second tier, Malik said, voice steady. The assistant cut again. Nala watched, eyes locked. The moment the knife slid free, she whined and backed up, then lunged forward as if pulled by an invisible rope. The slice came down. Nala knocked it away. The bitter smell grew, threading itself through the room until even the photographer stiffened. Someone near the bar crossed herself. The band fell silent again. In the back, a child began to cry. Mr. Bello's hands shook. He grabbed the pedestal as if ready to yank the whole cake away. Malik's jaw tightened. He remembered the morning deliveries, the tasting, the double check of ingredients, the trust he placed in the man because he came recommended by the woman who now stood nearest to the cake. Tasha. Her eyes flicked to Mr. Bello again. Not long. But Malik caught it. A tiny glance. A secret door. Amara saw it too. Her stomach turned to ice. She opened her mouth to speak and tasted the cold weight of fear. Why is the dog doing that? Someone asked loudly. Nala stopped barking. She walked a slow circle, sniffed the base and settled into a tense sit, eyes never leaving the cake. She didn't look at Malik. She didn't look at Amara. She watched the cake like a guard on a gate no one else could see. Mr. Bello, Malik said, turning fully to the baker. What did you put in there? Sir? The baker's smile fell apart. His voice came out thin. This is my best work. You tasted it last week. Last week was a different batch, Amara said, the steadiness in her voice surprising even her. This one is not right. A murmur rolled through the hall. Chairs scraped. A few guests moved closer. Others moved farther away. Tasha swallowed, then brightened again as if she could lighten the room with effort. We are not going to ruin this wedding over a dog and a smell, she said. Please let's. Amara gently removed Tasha's hand from her arm. Don't, she said quietly. Tasha's eyes flashed, quick as a match. Malik didn't see the flash. He had turned to his cousin. Get security to kindly ask Mr. Bello to step into the office with me, he said. Amara? I'm right here, Amara replied and laid a calming hand on Nala, who trembled but held her post. The head waiter stepped forward with 2 clean plates and a brave face. We can switch to the dessert platters from the kitchen while we sort this out, he said to Malik. For now, maybe just one tiny ceremonial bite for the photos? No, the nurse cousin said sharply. The room split. Half the eyes went to Malik. Half to the cake. In the center, Nala watched the second tier like it might bite back. Mr. Bello's assistant took a breath, opened his mouth, then closed it again. Sweat beaded at his temple. His eyes darted to the service door. Don't move, the nurse cousin said. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Tasha smoothed her dress. This is insane, she whispered, but the word didn't travel far. Nothing did. The air had thickened into something heavy that pressed on chests. Malik reached for Amara's hand. He squeezed. She squeezed back. Their rings caught the light, 2 small suns in a troubled sky. He turned to the crowd and forced a smile. Family, give us a few minutes, he said. Please enjoy the music. We'll. The lights went out. Darkness swallowed the hall. A beat of shock. Then a single scream cut the black. A crash. Nala's bark, fierce, protective, ripped the dark in half, followed by another scream, closer this time. When the backup lights flickered on, the glass pedestal stood empty. The wedding cake was gone. A collective gasp filled the hall. The once beautiful wedding cake, 3 tiers of perfection, had vanished as if it had never existed. The glass pedestal lay shattered, shards glinting under the emergency lights. The hall reeked faintly of sugar and something sharper, something metallic and wrong. Guests stumbled back, murmuring in confusion and fear. Amara's eyes darted around the room, her chest tightening. The cake. Malik, the cake is gone, she said, gripping his arm. Malik's gaze swept the room. The lights buzzed dimly, flickering like a dying flame. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. Everyone, please remain calm, he shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. Nobody leaves this hall until we know what's going on. Nala growled low and deep. Her fur stood on end as she sniffed the air, pacing toward the service corridor that led to the kitchen. Tasha, stay with Amara, Malik ordered, already moving. But Tasha didn't answer. When Amara turned, the maid of honor was gone. A ripple of unease spread through her. Malik, she whispered, Tasha's missing? He stopped mid-step. What? She was just here beside me. Before Malik could respond, Nala took off toward the kitchen, barking fiercely. Her nails clicked against the marble floor, echoing through the hall. Malik and Amara ran after her, the sound of their shoes joining the chorus of startled murmurs and gasps behind them. They pushed through the service door into the narrow corridor, lit only by flickering bulbs. The air smelled of oil, detergent, and now, something else. A bitter chemical tang. Nala was already at the far end, barking at a side door that led to the alley behind the banquet hall. When Malik reached her, he saw a faint trail of white crumbs leading to the door. He crouched down, touching one. Cake frosting, he murmured. Amara knelt beside him. Why would anyone? She stopped mid-sentence as her eyes caught sight of something else. A gold fondant rose crushed under the door. Someone dragged the cake out, Malik said. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with disbelief. Nala scratched at the bottom of the door and whimpered. Malik pushed it open and froze. Outside, under the dim glow of the alley light, the missing cake lay toppled on the ground, its layers broken apart, cream smeared across the concrete. Mr. Bellow's assistant knelt beside it, shaking as he scraped at the frosting with trembling fingers, as if trying to hide something. When he saw Malik, he jolted up. Sir, I can explain. Explain what? Malik's voice was sharp. Why the cake was moved. Why my dog is acting like she's guarding a crime scene. The assistant's throat bobbed. It wasn't me, sir. I swear. I only followed orders. Whose orders? Amara demanded. The assistant hesitated. Nala barked again, closing in, her teeth bared slightly. The maid of honor, he said finally. She told Mr. Bellow to use a special syrup for the wedding. She gave him extra money and said it was to enhance the flavor. Mr. Bellow said it was none of my business, but, sir, it didn't smell right. Amara's mouth went dry. Tasha? She whispered. She paid him? The assistant nodded miserably. Please, I didn't know it was poison. I didn't. Mr. Bellow said she was just being generous. Where's Mr. Bellow now? Malik asked, stepping closer. He went out through the back minutes before the lights went off, the assistant stammered. I thought he was coming back. Malik exhaled slowly, fury simmering beneath his calm. And Tasha? The assistant shook his head. She left too. I saw her follow him toward the parking lot. Amara's stomach twisted. Her mind replayed every memory, Tasha helping her pick the dress, choosing the cake design, insisting they use Bellow's bakery. It all connected now in horrifying clarity. She wanted to ruin me, Amara whispered, her voice cracking. But why? What did I ever do to her? Malik placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. We'll find out. But first, we need to make sure no one eats anything from this reception until the food is tested. He turned to the assistant. You're staying right here. If you try to run, I'll have the police on you before you reach the street. The assistant nodded quickly, tears brimming in his eyes. As they walked back inside, Malik's phone buzzed. It was a text, from an unknown number. You chose the wrong woman, Malik. Some love doesn't die quietly. His grip tightened around the phone. The sender's number was blocked before he could trace it. Amara glanced at his face. What is it? Nothing, he lied. Let's get everyone safe first. Back in the hall, security guards were moving guests away from the buffet tables. Nala trotted beside Amara, calmer now but still alert, her eyes darting toward the service doors. Amara stood before her guests, voice trembling but strong. Please everyone, I need you all to remain calm. There's been a small problem with the wedding cake. Nobody is to eat anything until it's checked. It's for your safety. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Some guests gasped. Others whispered in shock. Then a loud voice from the back shouted, someone tried to poison the couple. The hall erupted. Phones came out. Videos started rolling. In the middle of the chaos, Nala barked again. One sharp sound as if she wanted everyone's attention. Amara looked down at her faithful dog and whispered, You saved us. But her relief was short-lived. Because just as she turned to Malik, one of the guests near the dessert table screamed. A waiter had collapsed, foam forming at the corners of his mouth, the same bitter scent of the cake now heavy in the air. Amara's eyes widened in horror. "Oh God. Malik." He ran to the waiter's side, but it was too late. The man's breathing had already stopped. The crowd screamed, pushing toward the exits in panic. And standing near the door, half hidden in the confusion, was Tasha, watching with cold satisfaction as chaos spread through the hall. Then she turned and slipped into the night. Malik saw her just as she disappeared. "Tasha," he shouted, sprinting after her. Amara grabbed Nala's collar. "Stay," she commanded, voice breaking. But Nala didn't listen. She yanked free and tore off after Malik, barking into the dark parking lot. The chase had begun. And somewhere in the shadows, the woman who once called herself Amara's best friend was about to reveal just how far she was willing to go to have the man she could never truly own. The night air hit Malik's face like cold fire as he ran out of the banquet hall. His dress shoes slipped against the wet pavement, but he didn't stop. Ahead, he could hear the faint patter of heels and the rustle of satin, the sound of someone running in panic. "Tasha," he shouted, his voice echoing through the parking lot. "Stop right there." Nala bounded beside him, barking furiously, her collar jingling as she cut through the shadows like a blur of determination. Tasha glanced back once, her golden dress catching the moonlight. Her face, once calm and radiant, was twisted with desperation. She dashed toward a black SUV at the far end of the lot. Malik saw her yank open the driver's door, but before she could start the car, Nala lunged, biting down on the edge of her gown. "Let go, you mutt!" Tasha screamed, kicking violently. Malik caught up just in time to grab her wrist and wrench the car keys from her hand. "What did you do?" he roared. "You tried to kill Amara?" Tasha struggled, eyes blazing. "She took everything from me," she shouted, her voice shaking with something between rage and heartbreak. "You were supposed to be mine, Malik. You." Malik's grip tightened. "You're insane. You poisoned a cake at a wedding. People could have died." "People did die," she hissed, her lips curling. "You think I wanted to hurt anyone else? I only wanted her gone. You belong with me, Malik. You always have." Nala growled again, circling her, keeping a safe distance but never letting her out of sight. Malik stared at the woman he once considered family, a woman who had smiled at his engagement party, who had hugged Amara on her bridal shower night, whispering, "You're lucky to have him." "You bribed the baker," he said quietly. "You made him change the ingredients." Tasha's voice trembled. "He promised it would be quick and painless. No one would suspect a thing. But that stupid dog. Don't you dare call her stupid." Malik snapped, his fury finally breaking free. "She saved our lives." Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone at the reception must have called the police. Blue and red lights began to flicker against the nearby buildings. Tasha's eyes widened as she realized it was over. But desperation does strange things to people. She shoved Malik hard, snatched the keys from the ground, and darted toward the other side of the car. Malik grabbed her again, wrestling her away. The two struggled, feet slipping on wet asphalt. "Tasha, stop this before it gets worse," he shouted. But her hand darted into her clutch, pulling out a small glass vial, the same poison used on the cake. Her eyes were wild now, tears streaking her face. "If I can't have you, no one will," she whispered. Before she could open it, Nala lunged again, teeth clamping around her wrist. The vial slipped, shattered on the ground, releasing a sharp, nauseating smell. Tasha screamed and fell backward. Malik yanked her up and twisted her arm behind her back just as police cars pulled in with screeching tires. Officers jumped out, guns drawn, ordering everyone to freeze. Nala barked but backed away as Malik raised his hands. "She's the one," he said. "She tried to poison the wedding cake. One man's already dead." The officers moved swiftly. They cuffed Tasha, who was sobbing uncontrollably now. "You don't understand," she cried. "He was mine before she came. He used to look at me that way too." Malik turned his face away, jaw clenched. "That was years ago, Tasha. You ended it. I moved on." But her laughter, broken and hysterical, echoed through the night. "You think moving on is that easy?" she spat as the police dragged her toward the car. "You'll never be happy. You'll always remember this night. Every time you see that dog, you'll remember me." Her words lingered like poison long after she was gone. Amara rushed out of the hall moments later, her ghillie slightly undone, her eyes wide with terror. When she saw Malik standing by the patrol car, she ran into his arms. "Are you okay?" she gasped. He held her tight. "It's over, Amara. It's finally over." Nala wagged her tail softly, brushing her head against Amara's gown. The officers stayed behind, collecting evidence, interviewing witnesses, and securing the area. Mr. Bello, the baker, was found hiding near a generator shed behind the building. Under pressure, he confessed that Tasha had offered him a large sum to alter the recipe. He had suspected something was off but feared losing his business if he refused. When the ambulance pulled away carrying the lifeless waiter, Amara's eyes filled with tears. "Someone died because of her," she whispered. "At our wedding." Malik kissed her forehead. "And someone saved us." He looked down at Nala, who sat watching them, head tilted, eyes full of quiet loyalty. "You're a hero, girl." Back inside the hall, the once lively crowd had thinned. Some guests stayed behind to comfort Amara. Others murmured prayers. The decorations, the music, the laughter, it all felt distant now, like echoes from a different world. Amara removed her veil and stared at the empty cake stand. "I can't believe she hated me that much," she said softly. "I thought she was my sister." "She was jealous," Malik said. "And jealousy eats people alive." They stood in silence for a long moment until Malik's cousin, the nurse, approached. "The police will take statements from both of you in the morning," she said gently. "You should go home, rest, and let them handle the rest." Amara nodded. But before leaving, she bent down to Nala and whispered, "Thank you." Nala licked her hand and gave a small bark as if to say, "I was only doing my job." That night, as they drove home in silence, Amara glanced at Malik. "We could have died today." He nodded. "But we didn't." Then he looked in the rearview mirror. Nala was lying quietly in the back seat, eyes half closed, ears alert. Malik smiled faintly. "Looks like we owe her more than just dinner tonight." They both laughed weakly, trying to breathe again after the storm. But neither of them noticed the shadowy figure in a blue jacket watching from across the street, Mr. Bello's assistant, clutching his phone and dialing a number. When someone picked up on the other end, his voice trembled. "They've arrested her," he whispered. "But they don't know about the second batch." The line crackled. Then came a chilling reply. "Good. Keep quiet until I say otherwise." He hung up. Somewhere far from the wedding chaos, a small refrigerated box sat hidden in the back of a van, another cake identical to the first. And on its label, written neatly in gold letters, were the words, "For delivery tomorrow, Johnson Residence." Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and tell us where you're watching from. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want to see how this shocking story unfolds in the next chapter. The following morning dawned quiet and pale. The golden sunlight that streamed through Malik and Amara's bedroom window could not chase away the chill that had settled deep in their bones. Amara lay awake long before dawn, staring at the ceiling, her hand resting on Nala's back. The dog's slow breathing was the only sound in the room. Each time Amara closed her eyes, she saw Tasha's face, her twisted smile, her trembling hands, the vial slipping to the ground. She sat up suddenly, clutching her chest. Malik stirred beside her. "You okay?" he murmured. "I can still smell it," she whispered. "That bitter scent. It won't leave my mind." Malik reached for her hand. "You don't have to think about it anymore. She's in custody. It's over." Amara nodded, but she didn't believe it. "Someone died, Malik. On our wedding night." Her voice cracked. "I'll never forget that." Nala lifted her head, sensing the sorrow in the air, and pressed her nose against Amara's palm. Malik sighed, sitting up. "We'll rebuild. We'll start again. The media's already talking, but we'll give our statement today, clear our names, and move forward." But as he spoke, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. The caller ID read, "Unknown number." He hesitated, then answered. "Hello." A deep, calm voice responded. "Mr. Johnson, this is Detective Hale. We're with the Lagos Police Command. We've got a situation you'll want to be aware of." Malik's chest tightened. "What kind of situation?" The detective paused. "We arrested the baker and the maid of honor, as you know. But last night, during transfer to our holding facility, someone ambushed the police van. Tasha escaped." "What?" Malik shot out of bed. "How?" "She had help," the detective said grimly. "The van was found a few miles outside the city, driver unconscious, one officer injured. Mr. Bello was left behind, but Tasha's gone. And her phone's been off since." Amara's heart dropped. She gripped the edge of the bed, trembling. "You mean she's out there? After everything?" "Yes, ma'am," the detective replied. "We've issued an alert. But until she's found, I advise you and your wife to stay home and keep your doors locked. If you notice anything unusual, anyone watching you, call us immediately." Malik's throat went dry. Understood. When the call ended, Amara's voice was barely a whisper. She won't stop, Malik. You saw her eyes last night. She's not done. He took her face in his hands. Listen to me. I won't let her hurt you. Not again. Not ever. But as reassuring as his words were, both of them knew Thier had returned to live in their home. Later that afternoon, their living room was filled with officers collecting statements. Malik gave his calm, precise account. Amara's voice wavered as she recounted Tasha's betrayal. Nala sat in the corner, watchful, occasionally growling whenever one of the men stepped too close to Amara. Detective Hale took notes quietly. He was a tall, steady man with lines of worry etched into his face. That dog has a strong sense, he remarked. Animals often sense danger before we do. Don't ignore her instincts. Amara nodded. She saved us once. I trust her completely. When the officers finally left, silence fell again. The house felt both too quiet and too loud, every creak, every rustle making them jump. They decided to rest, but rest never came easily. By evening, the sky turned orange and gray. Malik stepped outside to get some air, standing by the gate. Across the street, a black van was parked. He didn't think much of it at first, until he noticed the same gold-lettered logo from the bakery painted faintly on its side, Bellows Sweet Crust. His stomach twisted. He stepped closer. Then the back door of the van creaked open, just slightly. Enough for him to see something inside. A white box tied with a red ribbon. A cake box. He froze. Amara, he shouted, turning back toward the house. Stay inside. But before she could respond, a loud bang shattered the stillness. The van's tires screeched as it sped away. Malik ran to the gate, but the vehicle was already gone. He could still smell exhaust and a faint trace of vanilla frosting in the air. Nala barked madly, rushing to the doorway. Amara appeared behind her, trembling. What happened? He pointed down the road. They were here. The bakery van. Someone left something. Before he could finish, a delivery man on a motorcycle stopped abruptly in front of their gate. Good evening, sir, he said cheerfully, unaware of the tension. Delivery for Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. Special order, congratulations cake. Malik's blood ran cold. Amara stepped back, gripping the wall for balance. We didn't order any cake, she said firmly. The man looked confused. But ma'am, it's already paid for. It's from the same bakery you used for your wedding. They said it's a replacement cake since, you know, the incident. Nala growled low in her throat. Malik's eyes narrowed. Put the box down and step away. The man hesitated. Sir? Now. The delivery man set it down quickly, hands raised. Malik pulled out his phone and called Detective Hale again. There's another cake here, he said, voice tense. Delivered to my house. From the same bakery. Don't touch it, Hale ordered instantly. We're sending a team right now. Move everyone outside the house. Malik grabbed Amara's hand. Come on. They moved out to the garden, Nala pacing restlessly beside them. Within minutes, 2 unmarked police cars pulled up, and officers surrounded the front gate. A bomb squad approached the cake box cautiously. The lead officer cut the ribbon, lifted the lid, and froze. Inside, instead of a cake, was a small black envelope. He handed it to Hale, who opened it carefully with gloves. Written inside in elegant handwriting were the words, You can't hide behind your dog forever. She won't save you next time. Amara's knees went weak. Malik caught her before she fell. Nala barked at the box again, furious now, as if sensing the malice written on the paper. Detective Hale exhaled, face grim. She's toying with you. This isn't just revenge anymore, it's obsession. Amara looked toward the dark road where the van had disappeared and whispered, She's out there, watching. Hale turned to Malik. We'll station a patrol car nearby until she's caught. But be warned, people like her don't stop until they feel they've won. Malik nodded, holding Amara close. Then she'll never win. As night fell once again, the Johnson residence became a fortress of lights and locked doors. But out in the shadows, just beyond the reach of the street lamps, a figure stood watching, the faint glint of gold fabric visible under her black coat. Tasha. Her lips curved into a smile as she whispered to herself, You think your dog can save you again? Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small whistle, its pitch so high only animals could hear. She blew it softly. Inside the house, Nala suddenly stiffened, her ears perking up. Then, trembling, she began to whine, a strange, low sound Malik had never heard before. Amara frowned. Nala? What's wrong, girl? But Nala didn't answer. She just stared at the window, her body frozen, her eyes wide. As thunder rolled faintly in the distance, Amara felt it again, the same chill she'd felt at the wedding, like something unseen was creeping closer. And she knew deep down, this nightmare wasn't over. The storm that night came without warning. Rain hammered the roof of the Johnson residence, and thunder rolled across the sky like an angry drum. Inside, the lights flickered, shadows dancing across the walls. Amara stood by the living room window, arms crossed tightly over her chest. Nala lay by her feet, restless. Every time lightning flashed, the dog raised her head and let out a low growl, eyes fixed on the darkness outside. Malik walked in, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, I understand," he said into the receiver. "But we need round-the-clock surveillance until she's caught. She already made contact again. My wife isn't safe." He ended the call and turned toward Amara. "The detective said they'll send 2 officers to stay outside through the night." Amara nodded, her face pale. "Do you think she's close?" Malik hesitated. "Maybe. Maybe not. But that whistle sound last night, there's something off about it." Nala whimpered, her body trembling as if the memory unsettled her too. Amara knelt beside her, running a hand over her head. "You're safe, baby," she whispered. "Nobody's going to hurt us again." But even as she spoke, she didn't believe her own words. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. Malik closed the curtains and checked the door locks for the 3rd time. The clock ticked loudly in the quiet house. Suddenly Nala stiffened. Her ears pricked up. She rose slowly, nose twitching toward the hallway. "What is it?" Malik asked, following her gaze. Nala's growl deepened and she started walking toward the back door, muscles tense. Malik grabbed a flashlight. "Stay here," he told Amara. She shook her head immediately. "No, I'm coming with you." He sighed but didn't argue. They followed Nala through the dim hallway to the back entrance. Rain drummed against the glass, and the curtains fluttered as wind slipped through a small crack near the frame. Malik clicked on the flashlight. Its beam cut through the darkness, landing on the doorknob. It was wet. He frowned. "Did you?" Amara shook her head. "No one's been near that door since last night." Nala barked once, sharp and urgent. Malik slowly unlatched the door and swung it open. The backyard was empty, just sheets of rain pouring down. But then as lightning flashed they both saw it. Footprints. Fresh ones. Bare feet, small and narrow, leading from the garden gate straight to the back steps. "Oh my God," Amara whispered. Malik stepped out, rain soaking through his shirt instantly. He followed the trail with the flashlight, Nala trotting close beside him, barking at intervals. The footprints stopped near the tall hedge, and there, in the mud, something glimmered. He crouched. It was a gold earring half buried in the wet soil. The same pair Tasha had worn at the wedding. Malik's pulse quickened. "She's been here." "Malik, come inside." Amara cried from the door. "Please?" He pocketed the earring and backed up toward her, scanning the yard one more time. The wind howled, carrying what sounded like faint laughter, distant, female, chilling. He froze. "Did you hear that?" Amara's voice trembled. "Let's go back inside." They locked the door again. Malik called Detective Hale immediately. "She was here," he said. "I found her earring in our yard. She's taunting us." "Stay inside and don't open the door for anyone," Hale warned. "We'll be there in 20 minutes. Malik hung up. Amara sat on the couch, shivering, holding Nala close. "Why is she doing this?" she asked in a broken whisper. "She's free now, she could have run away, started a new life." Malik sat beside her. "People like Tasha don't run. They haunt." The power flickered again, plunging them briefly into darkness before humming back to life. For a moment, everything was still. Then came a faint sound from upstairs. A creak. Like footsteps. Amara's eyes widened. "Malik." He stood slowly. "Stay here." She grabbed his hand. "No. Not this time." Together they climbed the staircase, flashlight in hand, Nala leading the way. The sound came again, a slow, deliberate creak from the guest room at the end of the hall. Malik's heart pounded as he reached for the doorknob. He counted under his breath. 3, 2, 1. He flung the door open. The room was empty. Lightning illuminated the space through the window. The curtains swayed gently, one of them torn loose from its hook. A faint scent of perfume lingered, familiar, floral, and haunting. "Tasha's perfume," Amara whispered. Something crunched under Malik's shoe. He looked down, broken glass. A small vial shattered near the carpet. Before he could process it, Nala began barking wildly at the window. Malik shone the flashlight outside, and froze. There she was. Tasha stood in the rain across the garden, her golden dress drenched, her hair plastered to her face. Her eyes gleamed like a predator's. She raised her hand slowly, and showed them something in her palm. Another whistle. She put it to her lips and blew. Though they couldn't hear it, Nala whimpered instantly, backing away, trembling violently. "Stop!" Amara shouted through the glass. "Leave us alone." But Tasha just smiled. Then she mouthed a single word before disappearing into the storm. "Tonight." Police sirens pierced the rain minutes later. Officers searched the entire compound, but she was gone. The hedges were trampled, the fence slightly bent, as though she'd been there and vanished again into the darkness. Detective Hale shook his head grimly. "She's playing a psychological game. She wants you afraid, unsure of what's real. But don't give her what she wants." Malik nodded, though fear was etched into every line of his face. When the officers left again near midnight, the couple tried to settle down, but sleep refused to come. Nala wouldn't rest either. She sat by the window, staring into the darkness, occasionally growling. Amara curled up beside Malik, whispering, "Do you think she'll come back?" He hesitated. "No, not tonight." But outside, deep in the woods beyond the fence, a figure moved silently, her eyes glinting in the dark. Tasha whispered to herself, "If the dog wants to protect her so much, let's see how she survives without it." Lightning flared again, revealing the cold smile on her face, and the small tranquilizer dart gun she held in her hand. The next morning broke gray and quiet. The storm had passed, but the world outside felt unnervingly still, like it was holding its breath. The Johnson residence looked peaceful from a distance, but inside, every door was bolted, every curtain drawn. Amara woke to the faint sound of Malik moving about in the kitchen. Nala wasn't beside her. At first, she thought the dog had gone to drink water, but something about the silence in the house made her heart skip. She rose quickly. "Nala?" she called softly. No answer. "Nala?" She rushed downstairs, her bare feet slapping against the marble floor. Malik turned at the sound of her voice, holding a steaming cup of tea. "What's wrong?" "She's not here," Amara said, panic rising. "She's not in the room, not in the hall, not anywhere." Malik set the cup down and moved quickly to the back door. It was closed but not locked. His stomach sank. "She never leaves without us," he muttered, stepping out into the backyard. The morning air was damp and cool. He scanned the garden. Nothing. The grass was still wet from the storm, but there, along the side fence, were faint paw prints leading toward the small wooden gate that opened onto the bushy path behind the house. Amara followed his gaze. She wouldn't go there alone. Malik crouched, touching one of the prints. "These are fresh. She went out less than an hour ago." Before either could speak again, they heard it, faint from beyond the trees. A bark. But it wasn't the sharp, confident bark they knew. It was weaker, strained. Amara's heart clenched. "Malik, she's hurt." Without a second thought, they grabbed flashlights and ran toward the path, ignoring the mud that clung to their slippers. The trees thickened as they moved deeper in. Dew dripped from the branches and the morning mist clung to the air like fog. Then they saw her. Nala lay on her side near a small clearing, breathing heavily. Her fur was wet, her eyes half open, and a thin dart stuck out from her shoulder. Amara dropped to her knees beside her. "Oh my God, no. Nala, baby." Tears welled in her eyes as she stroked the dog's neck. "Malik, she's been shot." He pulled out the dart carefully, sniffed it, and grimaced. "Tranquilizer," he said grimly. "Not lethal, but strong enough to knock her out." Amara's tears spilled freely. She was trying to protect us again. Malik wrapped his jacket around the dog and lifted her gently. "We're taking her to the vet. Now." They ran back toward the car. As Malik drove, tires splashing through puddles, Amara sat in the back seat cradling Nala, whispering over and over, "Stay with me, girl. Please stay with me." At the vet's office, the nurse rushed them in. The doctor, an older man with kind eyes, examined Nala quickly. "It's a heavy sedative," he said. "But she's strong. She'll wake up in a few hours." Amara closed her eyes in relief, whispering, "Thank God." But Malik's face stayed grim. "Someone shot her, Amara. That means Tasha was here, again. She knew Nala was our first line of defense." The doctor frowned slightly. "If you're saying someone targeted her, then whoever did it knew what they were doing. This wasn't random." Amara looked up, voice trembling. "She's trying to isolate us. First the cake, now Nala." Malik nodded. "She wants us vulnerable." They stayed at the clinic for hours until Nala was stable. By the time they got home, evening had begun to fall again. The police patrol was still stationed outside, but Malik noticed something odd. The car's headlights were off and both officers inside looked slumped. "Wait here," he told Amara, stepping closer. As he approached, his stomach tightened. The officers weren't asleep. Their windows were fogged and both men sat eerily still. He banged on the glass. No response. He opened the door. Both officers were unconscious, the air thick with a faint chemical smell. Malik covered his mouth, coughing, and shouted toward the house, "Amara, stay inside." But it was too late. The front door swung open, and Amara froze. Tasha stood at the threshold, drenched in rain again, hair wild, eyes burning with fury and madness. In her hand, she held a small silver pistol. "Surprise," she said softly, stepping inside. Amara stumbled back. "Tasha, you need help. Please." "Help?" Tasha's laugh was hollow. "I helped you pick your dress, your flowers, your cake. I helped you find your perfect day. And you took him from me. Everything. You didn't even know what he was to me." Amara shook her head, trembling. "You were his friend. That's all." Tasha's smile twisted. "Friend? No, sweetheart. I was his first love." Amara's heart dropped. "You're lying." "Am I?" Tasha took a step closer, her voice softening with poison. "Ask him. Ask Malik how many nights we shared before you showed up. Ask him why he never told you." At that moment, Malik burst through the door, his face pale. "Don't listen to her, Amara. That was years ago, long before I even met you. But the damage was already done." Doubt flickered across Amara's face, feeding the fire in Tasha's eyes. "You see," Tasha whispered, eyes gleaming. "Even now he hides the truth." Malik moved slowly, hands raised. "Put the gun down, Tasha. Please." "Do you know what it feels like," she hissed, "to plan a life with someone, only to watch him walk away for another woman? To stand beside her at the altar while he looks at her the way he used to look at you?" "Tasha," Malik said carefully, taking one step closer. "You're sick. You need help, not blood on your hands." But she was past reasoning. Her grip on the gun tightened. "You took my place, Amara. And you," she turned to Malik, voice trembling, "you made me invisible." Malik lunged. The gun fired. The sound was deafening. Amara screamed, diving to the ground. The bullet shattered the glass cabinet behind them. Malik tackled Tasha, the weapon flying from her hand. They struggled across the floor, slipping on broken glass. Tasha screamed, clawing at him. "You ruined everything." Then came a sound that froze them both. A low, weak growl. They turned. Nala stood at the doorway, swaying on her legs, her eyes barely open but full of fire. She had escaped from the car, tracking her family sent home despite her weakness. Tasha stumbled back, eyes wide. "No. No, no, no." Nala bared her teeth and lunged, knocking Tasha to the floor. The woman screamed as the dog pinned her down. Malik kicked the gun away and called out to Amara, "Call the police, now." Amara grabbed the phone, hands shaking. Within minutes, the sirens returned, louder this time, flashing red and blue against the windows. Officers stormed in, dragging Tasha up roughly as she screamed and thrashed. "You can't keep him," she shrieked. "He'll never forget me. Never." Malik held Amara close, his voice breaking. "It's over now. It's really over." As the officers carried Tasha away, Nala collapsed at their feet, exhausted. Amara knelt beside her, tears streaming down. "You saved us again, girl." Malik stroked her fur. "She's our miracle." The detective arrived moments later, taking in the scene. "She'll be going away for a long time this time," Hale said grimly. "And this time there's no escape route." Amara nodded, trembling but relieved. Outside, dawn was breaking again, painting the wet streets gold. For the first time in days, Amara felt she could breathe. But as Detective Hale turned to leave, he handed Malik a small evidence bag. "We found this in her coat pocket," he said. Inside was a tiny folded note that read, "You can cage me, but I planted something you'll never find." Malik's fingers tightened around the bag. "What does that mean?" Amara whispered. He didn't answer. He just looked around the house, the wedding gifts, the walls, the boxes, and wondered what else Tasha might have left behind. Tell me what you would have done in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're still following this suspenseful story, because in the next chapter, we'll find out exactly what Tasha meant by something you'll never find. For a moment, Malik and Amara just stood there, staring at the note in silence. The sound of the police cars faded into the distance, but the weight of Tasha's last words lingered like smoke that refused to clear. Something you'll never find. Amara's mind replayed the sentence again and again. Her fingers trembled as she clutched Malik's sleeve. What do you think she meant by that? Malik looked around the living room, the toppled chairs, the shattered glass, the dark smears of mud tracked in from the fight. I don't know, he said slowly, but knowing Tasha, it's not just a threat. It's a promise. Amara swallowed hard. You think she planted something here? In our home. Malik's jaw tightened. I think we should assume the worst. He walked to the kitchen, scanning every corner, opening drawers, checking behind cabinets. Amara followed him, her heartbeat loud in her ears. Nala, though weak, refused to rest. She limped slowly behind them, sniffing the air. Whatever it is, Malik muttered, we'll find it before she gets her last victory. By afternoon, the house looked like a crime scene all over again. Malik had pulled out furniture, opened vents, even checked the flower vases. Nothing. Then Amara froze mid-step. Wait. Malik looked up. What? She pointed toward the corner of the dining room, where the beautifully wrapped wedding gifts still sat, untouched. We never opened those. She was here during the wedding preparations. What if? Malik didn't let her finish. He grabbed a knife and slit open the nearest box. It was just a blender. The next was a set of china plates. The third, a glass frame engraved with, Forever and Always Amara and Malik. He almost laughed at the irony. Then he opened the fourth box. It wasn't a gift. Inside was a small black tin neatly wrapped in lace, with a single folded note taped on top. The handwriting was unmistakable, elegant, slanted, and poisonous. Malik's pulse raced as he unfolded it. A little reminder of me for when you least expect it. You'll smell it before you feel it. Amara's voice broke. Oh my God. He carefully opened the tin, covering his nose. A sharp, bitter smell filled the air, metallic and chemical like the poison cake from before. He slammed it shut instantly and ran for the door, throwing it outside into the garden. The tin hit the concrete and hissed softly, smoke rising from its edges. Amara gasped, covering her mouth. She left poison in our home? Malik turned furious now. No, she left a message. She wanted us to know that even behind bars she could still haunt us. He grabbed his phone and called Detective Hale again. Within the hour, officers were back at the house. They cordoned off the area, secured the tin, and tested the contents. The result was worse than expected, a concentrated nerve toxin. Hale stood grim-faced as he explained. This substance is rare, extremely dangerous, and hard to trace. Whoever supplied her with this isn't just an ordinary criminal. Amara frowned. You mean she had help? More than help, Hale replied. She had a network. Someone wanted her plan to succeed. Malik rubbed a hand over his face. We thought it was just jealousy. What if it's something deeper? Someone else could have been after us through her. The detective nodded slowly. That's what we're beginning to suspect. That night, Amara sat by Nala's side in the living room, running her hand over the dog's fur. She's resting better now, she whispered. Malik came in quietly, sitting beside her. The police said they'll be tracking Tasha's phone records. They found several calls to a number registered under a fake name. Do they know who it belongs to? He hesitated. Not yet. But Hale thinks it might be connected to the bakery. Amara looked down, shaking her head. Mr. Bello? He's already in custody. Not him, Malik said. His assistant. The one who told us about the bribery. She froze. The one who ran away that night? Malik nodded grimly. He hasn't been seen since. A deep silence followed. The hum of the refrigerator and the ticking clock were the only sounds between them. Amara's eyes filled with tears again. I just wanted a happy wedding, she whispered. One perfect day. Malik took her hand gently. We'll have it again someday. Maybe not perfect but peaceful. That's enough for me. Outside the sky was dark and still. The wind rustled the trees softly, and for the first time in days, the air didn't smell of rain or poison. Nala lifted her head suddenly, ears pricking. Amara tensed. What is it, girl? Nala sniffed the air, then turned toward the window and gave one soft bark. Malik followed her gaze, and saw a faint light blinking in the distance, near the backyard fence. He frowned. Stay here. He went out with a flashlight, stepping carefully across the wet grass. The light blinked again, faint, rhythmic. He crouched near the fence and brushed aside the leaves. A small camera lens gleamed back at him. He exhaled sharply. Security cameras. She was watching us. He traced the wire. It led underground, disappearing toward the far side of the yard. He called Hale again, voice tight. Detective, you'd better come back. She had hidden surveillance here. Multiple cameras. An hour later, the police unearthed 2 tiny recording devices, both wired to a transmitter hidden inside one of the flower pots by the gate. She was recording everything, Hale said, inspecting the device. Conversations, movement, maybe even your passwords if she got lucky. Malik clenched his fists. Every time I thought she was gone, she was still in this house. Amara shivered. Even after she was caught, she was still here. Hale nodded. And if she's got partners out there, they might be listening even now. We'll sweep the property completely. Amara turned to Malik, voice trembling. It never ends, does it? He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. It will. I promise you it will. Nala rested her head on Amara's lap, her eyes heavy but calm now, as if she understood the danger was far from over. And outside, just beyond the gate, a pair of unseen eyes watched from a parked car. The figure inside lowered binoculars, pulled out a phone and sent a message to an unknown number. The devices have been found. Proceed to phase 2. Then the car engine roared softly to life, fading into the night. Whatever Tasha had started was only the beginning of something far more dangerous. Something neither Malik nor Amara could yet imagine. The morning sun rose over Lagos, warm and deceptive, its golden light spilling across the Johnson residence like a promise of peace. But inside, unease hung thick in the air. Detective Hale had stationed 2 officers permanently by the gate now. The house had been swept for devices, every corner inspected. Yet Amara still felt watched. Every creak, every whisper of wind seemed to carry Tasha's ghost. Nala had begun recovering her strength, her eyes sharp again, her movements steady. She rarely left Amara's side anymore. If the front door opened, Nala was there. If the floorboards groaned, she was the first to turn. Malik sat at the kitchen table, a cup of untouched coffee before him, reviewing police updates on his laptop. They've traced the assistant's signal, he said finally, breaking the silence. He's still in Lagos. Amara looked up. Did they find him? Not yet. But they tracked a phone call he made last night, from somewhere near the docks. Amara frowned. The docks. Yes. And guess what company owns a warehouse in that area? Malik paused. Bellows Sweet Crust. Her heart skipped. You mean the bakery? Malik nodded grimly. It's been closed for inspection since the incident. But someone's still using it. Detective Hale's men are moving in today. I'm going with them. Amara's eyes widened. No, Malik. You're not going anywhere near that place. It's dangerous. He reached across the table, taking her hand. I have to, Amara. She targeted us. I need to see this end with my own eyes. Nala growled softly as if in agreement with Amara. But Malik's mind was made up. By late afternoon, the warehouse area was quiet, the salty wind from the lagoon carrying the faint smell of oil and seaweed. 3 police vehicles pulled up in front of the rusting building marked Bellows Sweet Crust Logistics. Malik stepped out with Hale and the officers, his chest tight with determination. This is the last place Tasha contacted her accomplice from, Hale said. We move carefully. They entered. The air inside was thick with dust and sugar residue. The faint sound of dripping water echoed through the space. Empty cake stands, mixers and broken boxes lay scattered around. Then Hale pointed his flashlight toward a corner where a door stood slightly ajar. A soft humming sound came from behind it. He signaled the men to flank him. On 3, he whispered. 1, 2, 3. They burst in. The room beyond wasn't a kitchen, it was a lab. Stainless steel tables lined the walls, covered with bottles, chemical vials and syringes. A faint, familiar bitter smell hung in the air, the same smell that had haunted their wedding. Amara's instincts were right. Tasha hadn't worked alone. At the center table, a man turned, startled, the bakery assistant. He froze for one heartbeat, then bolted toward the back door. Stop! Hale shouted. Malik lunged, tackling the man before he reached the exit. They fell hard against the floor, the assistant gasping for breath. Please? Don't shoot, he cried. I didn't mean for anyone to die. Then tell us what's going on, Malik snapped, gripping his collar. The assistant's eyes darted to the officers, then back to Malik. It wasn't just her. Tasha was working for someone. A woman named Madame Vero. She runs illegal imports through this warehouse. Drugs, toxins, anything that sells. Tasha made a deal. She'd use your wedding to test one of Vero's new poisons. If it worked without trace, she'd get money. Enough to disappear forever. Hale's jaw clenched. You're telling me the poison was an experiment? The assistant nodded, trembling. Yes. But when she started losing control, when she wanted to kill for revenge, Madame Vero cut her off. After that, Tasha went rogue. Malik stood slowly, fury rising in him. And you still helped her? She threatened me, the assistant said, crying now. Said she'd kill my family if I told anyone. The detective signaled 2 officers to cuff him. We'll verify that story. Start talking about this Madame Vero because she's next. As they dragged him out, Malik's eyes drifted to a table near the corner. There, among the glass bottles and cake molds, sat another cake box, small, perfectly decorated. It was labeled, Johnson Residence, delivery pending. His stomach turned. She made another one. Hale opened the box carefully. Inside was not cake this time, but a small silver device with blinking lights. A timer. Bomb? Hale shouted. Everyone out. They ran, bursting through the warehouse doors just as a deafening blast tore through the building. The shockwave threw Malik against a wall, shards of glass raining around him. Smoke billowed into the sky. When the sound finally died, the warehouse was gone. Flames licked the remains of the roof. Hale's voice came from somewhere nearby. Everyone accounted for? Malik coughed, eyes stinging from smoke. I'm here. The detective turned to him, eyes grim. That bomb was no accident. Someone wanted to erase everything. Malik wiped blood from his forehead. Madame Vero? Most likely, Hale said. And now she knows we're on to her. That night, back home, Amara was waiting by the door when Malik walked in, his shirt scorched, his face pale. She ran to him, tears spilling freely. I thought I'd lost you, she sobbed. He held her tightly. You'll never lose me. Not to her. Not to anyone. Nala barked softly, tail wagging weakly as if she understood. They sat together in silence for a long time. The events of the day weighed heavy, but the relief of surviving another danger filled the air. Malik finally spoke. It's over for Tasha. But not for whoever she worked for. Amara nodded slowly. Then we finish it. Together. He smiled faintly, brushing her cheek. That's my wife. For the first time in days they both smiled, weak but real. Outside, the night was quiet again. The city hummed with distant sounds, ordinary and calm. But on the outskirts of Lagos, in a dark villa overlooking the lagoon, a woman in an elegant silk robe poured herself a glass of wine. Her face was hidden by the shadows, but her voice was smooth and cold. Poor Tasha, she murmured. Too emotional to follow orders. But at least she served her purpose. She turned toward the man standing in the corner, a bodyguard holding a phone. Keep an eye on the Johnsons, she said. They think it's over. It's only beginning. She lifted her glass and smiled faintly. After all, weddings are just the start of forever. The man nodded silently and left. The woman looked out over the water where the moon shimmered on the waves. She raised her glass. To Amara and Malik, she whispered, her tone dripping with mockery. May their love survive what comes next. And somewhere in the Johnsons' home, as if sensing the storm yet to come, Nala lifted her head, ears twitching, eyes glowing softly in the dark. She let out one low, warning growl. Because though peace had returned to the Johnsons' life for now, the danger was only sleeping. What do you think, viewers? Was this truly the end of Tasha's revenge or just the beginning of something bigger? Would you keep living in that house if you were Amara? Or move away to start over? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping African folktale stories just like this one.